Good day, everyone, and welcome to the National Bone Marrow Transplant Link Best Tips for Combating Fatigue call. Today's call is being recorded, and I would now like to turn the presentation over to Jennifer Gillette. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gillette, and I am the staff social worker at the National Bone Marrow Transplant Link. I'd like to welcome everyone on this call and remind you that this month's program will focus on the best tips to battle fatigue. Thank you also to our sponsors, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Jazz Pharmaceuticals, Insight Corporation, Pharmacyclics and Janssen, and our esteemed Link partners for making this program possible. Just so everyone knows today, you are going to get lots of tips, and you do not need to take a single note. Within a week, I'm going to be sending notes out to everyone. So don't feel like you need to scramble today, okay? Just so everyone knows, too, the outline for our program today, I'm just going to spend a couple minutes sharing some information about the link for those who might not be aware, and then I'm going to hand it over to Stacey Prieur, our medical professional, who is going to be talking about the professional perspective with fatigue, and then I myself will be sharing with you some of the tips that some of your fellow survivors sent in that have been helpful to them dealing with fatigue. And then after that, we're going to open it up for some questions, and then we'll just wrap up the call. We're hoping to have about half the call for questions, so if you do have any, feel free to write them down, and I will share with you when that time is for you to ask them. But anyway, for those who aren't familiar with the link, our mission is dedicated to helping individuals and their families from diagnosis through survivorship. We provide resources, support, and education. Some of the resources we provide to help families navigate their transplant journey are our webinars, podcasts, which are award-winning, I might add, blogs, and lunch and learn calls for a variety of topics, such as our chronic graft versus host disease, specific information, caregiving, coping, and survivorship. We also have a wonderful peer support mentor program for not only the patients, but caregivers and donors. So if you want to talk to someone who's been through it, you can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to do so. We have our second birthdays recognition program, our books, referrals, and emotional support from a licensed social worker. So please feel free to reach out if you need some more support. Before we begin today's program, I would like to review just a couple quick housekeeping things. First of all, try to be mindful when you do ask questions today to just try to keep it concise so we can get to as many of the questions as possible. And also know that the information provided in this program is meant to stimulate conversation with you and your own healthcare provider and is not meant to replace your individualized medical plan. Especially in some of the tips that I might share from some of your fellow survivors today, these are things that they're saying worked for them. It is always good to talk to your healthcare team about what you're wanting to try. So now on to the educational part of our program. The first speaker we have is Stacey Prieur. She is a nurse transplant coordinator for the Blood and Marrow Stem Cell Transplant Program at Barbara Ann Carmano Cancer Center. She has been doing this for 20 years, so you are not going to meet anyone who has more experience than her probably, or not very often. She started in 1991 as a BMT nurse, so her whole career has been living and breathing this process. And without further ado, I just want to thank Stacey so much for being here with us, and she has been a constant support to nbmtLINK. So Stacey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be part of this talk, which is so important. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're surviving these weird COVID times and had a great Thanksgiving. I am Canadian, although I work in Detroit, Michigan, so I had my Thanksgiving in October, but I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. I just wanted to start off with a couple sentences. Unrelenting exhaustion, constant state of weariness, profound fatigue, sleep abnormalities, muscle and joint pain. These all go hand in hand with chronic fatigue. We've all experienced being tired, but the fatigue that impacts our bone marrow transplant patients post-transplant is not the normal tired. There is a quote from a patient that I found that said, fatigue is a normal part of life. Fatigue is a normal part of recovery. It can come and go. Don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself time to recover. And I really like that. You all need to be very easy on yourself. We tell our patients that fatigue is the number one complaint post-transplant, and I really see that with my patients. And it can color every aspect of your life. It is not the normal tiredness that non-transplant people experience. We all get tired if we did a lot of exercise, we did a lot of yard work, we had a bad night's sleep. But this kind of fatigue can be both physically and emotionally exhausting. It can drain you. It can leave you with very little energy. And sometimes that's hard to explain to your family and friends and your caregivers that you're this tired. I like to tell my patients that after transplant, you're like a newborn baby. You have a brand new immune system. You're actually going to have all of your baby vaccinations administered to you again. So you think about how much a newborn baby sleeps. You've got this brand new immune system, this brand new bone marrow. So number one, be easier on yourself. Don't be discouraged. This is very normal. It's a very normal side effect of transplant. And we hear things like brain fog, hard to concentrate, hard to be motivated to do even the simplest things. So again, this can impact every aspect of your life. It can make it hard to carry out normal activities, normal hobbies, to resume going back to work. And it can really affect your social life and your relationships because it's exhausting to interact socially with family and loved ones. It can be very tiring. So number one, I want you to talk about it. I want you to talk about it with your BMT doctors, your BMT nurses, your social worker. If you have a counselor, a therapist, be open. Talk about your fatigue. Talk about it with your family and friends so they know what you're going through and they know what to expect. Another good tip that I have is having some structure to your day. Have a regular routine. It can really help keep things under control and reduce your stress. When patients are in our facility for transplant, they're there for about a month, and we tell them that they're very simple expectations, but we expect them to shower every day, even if they're exhausted. We expect them to put on fresh new clothing. We expect them to sit in the chair as much as possible. And we expect them to be active as much as possible, whether that be getting on the exercise bike or walking the hallways on the unit. If they do 16 laps of the unit, it's actually a mile. We tell them that we expect 10 laps a day, and they don't have to do it all in one swoop. They can do a couple laps, take a rest or a break, do a couple more laps. But this gives them some structure. It gives them goals. It gives them incentive that they have to stay active, which is really hard to do when your energy level is at an ultimate low. Another thing you can do that might be helpful is to keep a diary and see when are you feeling the most tired, when are you feeling the most energy, and then maybe setting the times when you have a lot of energy to do the things that require concentration or things that require physical activity. That can be very helpful. Another thing that we say to our patients is set limits. Do things in small increments. Like I said, you don't have to do all 10 laps in one swoop. You do small little increments of activity. Even with social gatherings and visits, you can say, you know what, I might not have the stamina to visit with you for 8 hours, but I can give you 30 minutes. I can give you 20 minutes. Even on the telephone, you might say to someone, I'd love to talk to you, but I'm so tired I can talk to you for 5 or 10 minutes. It can't be a lengthy conversation today. And just be open and honest with people. Patients say, why am I so tired? Well, you've had this intense conditioning regimen that has either been chemo, radiation, or maybe a combination of chemo and radiation, and this can be very hard on your body. regular chemo and radiation is hard on the body, and let alone the doses that we give with transplant. So your conditioning regimen can have a big impact on your energy level and your fatigue. And also, you've just got brand new cells. We've wiped out your immune system, given you brand new cells, whether they're from an unrelated donor, a related donor, or even your own stem cells after an autologous transplant. So your body is going through a huge adjustment, and this fatigue can be delayed. Some people experience it during their conditioning regimen. Other people say it doesn't set in till weeks later. And we've heard patients say, today was a really good day. I had tons of energy, but 2 days ago I was so tired I could barely get out of bed. So that's very common too. So I know I'm going through a lot of information, but I just kind of also wanted to go over a few other causes of the fatigue. So not only the chemo and radiation, but the loss of appetite. So if the chemo and radiation have caused a loss of appetite, you're not getting the proper nutrition, which can also affect your energy level. If you get diarrhea or your body's not absorbing nutrients like it did before, that can reduce your energy level. Graft versus host disease can reduce your energy level. If your counts are low, example anemia, you can be very fatigued. Side effects of medications. Post-transplant patients are on a lot of medications, and a lot of these medications can be sedating. They can also affect your sleep, so that can also make you more fatigued. And then stress. This is a very stressful time, and transplant is stressful for the patient and the caregivers, and stress can cause fatigue. So those are just some of the reasons why you're as tired as you are. Also, hormonal imbalances. Chemo and radiation and transplant can cause issues with the thyroid, can cause women to go into menopause, for men to have low testosterone, vitamin deficiencies. These can also play an impact with your fatigue level. And lastly, pain. If you're in pain, it is so stressful on the body that it can add to your fatigue level as well. So some of the tips that we say to patients is join a support group, like BMT-LINK has great support groups. They can hook you up with a patient that's had a transplant or a caregiver that's taking care of a transplant patient. They can offer excellent support, excellent tips, excellent advice, and just someone to listen that understands. Counseling, whether it's your social worker at your hospital or a private counselor, meditation, breathing techniques, hobbies, and exercise. I know exercise is a hard one because you're already tired and then we're asking you to exercise, but there's so many benefits of the natural endorphins with exercise that being as active as you can really help. Planning ahead. Right now with COVID, many people are shopping online, getting their groceries and products delivered right to their home. That can be a real good tip for people that are fatigued. You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to drive in the car. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to wait in line. So shopping online can help. When you do feel up to cooking, freezing food so that you have stuff in the freezer so that when you're hungry you can just pull it out, warm it up, and you're not having to cook every day. Getting a housekeeper. A lot of people are very proud and don't want someone else to clean their house, but if you had someone to clean your house, whether it be a paid housekeeper or a family or friend that's offering to do it, one less thing you have to do, and cleaning the house takes a lot of energy. And a big thing, accept help. Many of us are proud and don't want to accept help, but now is the time to accept the help and let your body heal, let your body get over all the side effects of your conditioning regimen and get stronger, and so that you'll have more energy to do the things that you used to do. So as I'm wrapping up, listen to your body. It's okay to rest. It's okay to nap, and it's okay to pause. Pace yourself. I like this quote, I now enjoy the little things in life so that I can have many small pleasures instead of a few big ones. I try to balance my rest with my activity. So I hope this was helpful, and I know it was a lot of information. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Stacey. We really appreciate you bringing that today. And I think those are some wonderful, wonderful tips. Okay, now I'm going to share some great tips received from you, the experts who have tried to navigate this as best as you can. And we certainly want to just thank everyone who contributed to this list. The collective wisdom was absolutely amazing. Keep in mind, though, what works for one person might not be the exact formula for you. I always like to say you've got to find what your secret sauce is. So it might be a combination of a few things. However, you will figure it out best when you take kind of a trial and error approach. I recommend that you give everything a good, honest try, even 3 to 4 times as a trial, because doing something once doesn't always give us the full result either. Also, look for little gains, because remember, it's those little gains that add up over time that can really make a difference, and that's definitely a theme that I saw. Again, just as a reminder, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information. Some of it might be a little bit repetitive, but I really want to honor the great messages that were given to us, but you will be getting the notes from this, okay? We have one of our Facebook participants who said, walk, walk, walk. Push yourself every day to move a little more than the day before. And that, like I said, you're going to hear that theme throughout, is just keep building on what you're doing. Carol wrote to us, my daughter was my caregiver after a chemo treatment. The sooner I took short walks, the better I felt and more energy to combat fatigue. Be sure to have support with a cane, walker, or arm of a friend. I used popular walking sticks from this area. They are thick and extra long, 5 to 6 feet, when I was alone, just to help with my balance. At first, just a few house lengths and back was enough. Don't overdo it. And she also says, God bless to everyone. And then John, same thing with the walking. He tries, and I'm sure he had to build up to this point, but he says, I try to walk 3 to 6 miles per day in the late afternoon and do some yoga or light weights and floor exercises every other day before lunch. I also take a half-hour afternoon nap. If I don't do these things, I feel more tired and don't sleep at night as well, although I still can have episodic sleeping problems in any case. But Alan writes, nap whenever you can, whenever you feel like it is possible. Drink lots of tea and go for walks outside. And there's actually evidence with different studies, too, of the benefits of being outside. I mean, not only getting the vitamin D, being in nature, but being outside of your home, there's psychological benefits to that. Yes, I felt fatigued after, and I'm sorry, this is from Bob. Yes, I felt fatigued after all that treatment. In fact, I felt pretty awful. That period of being immune suppressed was hard. Fortunately, I had a prior experience that was just as hard, going from totally out of shape to running marathons. That experience made me confident that I could do the same thing again. It was hard work, harder than you can imagine, but it worked. I believe that exercise should be a part of treatment and recovery to the extent possible. Every patient is different. It takes a lot of want to get fit and to shake off fatigue and muscle loss after transplant, which that's something I want to point out too, that, the muscle loss, that can certainly affect your fatigue. I know I've worked in oncology over 20 years, and there was times that we had patients that walked in with decent mobility levels, and even after being in the hospital a week or two, required physical therapy. So just keep in mind, muscle loss can affect things too. And then Tim writes, he likes to take a supplement called N like Nancy, M like Mary, N. I looked it up online, and it looks like it's a B vitamin molecule supplement. He said that he suspects that the NMN restores NAD levels, which drop with aging. I suspect it also drops with a BMT. Extended fasting is something he does from 3 to 30 days, depending on the personal situation. And I'm sure fasting looks different, but some people do intermittent, some people, take things out of their diet. But anyway, to clear out broken proteins and dead cells, which we have a lot of, the lithium to help restore chemo brain, and 60 cc's in oil for peak mitochondria function. Again, this is something to discuss with your doctor, but that is something that works for Tim. I remember attending, and this one, no name attached. I remember attending a seminar about fatigue after I recovered from leukemia and bone marrow transplant. Because I am so tired, it was probably about 18 years ago, so I don't remember much. But my advice would go to you on this. If you are tired, rest. If you're able to go for a walk, then do so, because energy begets energy. Like everything, the fatigue will eventually pass and you will feel like yourself again. I wish I could remember more on how I combated it, but I can assure you I felt less tired as time went on. And then we had someone who gave us a lot of great tips that I'm going to share with you. Deanne really blessed us with quite a few. She said, first of all, embrace it. You aren't just a normal tired, and it's okay. Don't focus on the negativity, though. You're either healing or reacting to continuing medication side effects. Think creatively on how to make it tolerable. I didn't realize I still suffered from occasional fatigue 18 months after transplant. So that's a very good point. Time. It takes time to heal your body. She also talked about the importance of a positive attitude, choosing to smile. Attitude is the only thing in your control. Make others smile and find you have a joy to be around, and be a joy to be around, since you are likely aren't going anywhere soon and fatigue is heavy. As tempting as it is, don't nap as soon as you can stop. You'll achieve a sleeping schedule faster. Set small goals to start and increase as energy returns. For example, no more 10 hours in bed a night. Find a comfortable daily routine timeline and stick to it. It'll be motivating, and it's only a commitment to yourself and healing, so no penalty if you break it occasionally. She also finds that laying out her clothes for the next day beside her bed made it one less barrier for her actually getting out of the bed, and that sounds like a mind over matter kind of thing, helping to feed that. She also said dress in socially acceptable clothes for the day that you can walk outside, and she found that exercise and getting out really helped. Especially, she says, walking daily. Start small. If all you can do is a half a block, do it twice a day or more. You'll be surprised how quickly you walk further without effort. Start with a walking companion, though, in case you find yourself further from home than you intended, and your companion can get a car to take you home. Take your cell phone for emergencies when you walk alone. She also introduced stretching and weight training very slowly. This was hard, even pre-transplant. 18 months post-transplant, I'm struggling to put this back in my routine. With COVID and being reluctant to return to a gym, I wish I had kept it at the forefront of my mind all the time so it wouldn't be such a challenge now. She also likes to listen to a recorded book on her walk. It says it helps her with her motivation. She likes to listen to upbeat music. And I actually got the pleasure of talking to her a little while back, and we had to schedule around her Zumba class. She recommends do simple household tasks to keep yourself moving and to not be sedentary. Laundry is a great one because you have to move every so often to finish the task. She also says you have more energy than your brain and body tell you. Accept invitations to participate, but excuse yourself when it becomes too much, or otherwise you'll become complacent. People do understand. She also said let people visit. Ask them politely to leave if you need to rest. Their interest is your success, and they are thankful to see you. And some of the other ones that we have here, these ones are from Christine. It's important to focus on what you can change when managing. We can't change diagnoses, treatment paths, or getting older, but what is something that can be changed? You can look at, can you try to change anything with pain management or coping in depression, as Stacey has alluded to. And then we have nutrition, sleep habits, and all other health issues that could be going on. It's important to look at your overall health and not just blame everything on the actual transplant process. She also talks about limiting sugar and excess carbs, as those can spike and plummet sugar levels, which can affect your fatigue and make it worse. It's also learning your limits. You're going to learn where that fine line is, where you push yourself, but then if you cross that line, it ends up coming back and biting you, where you might need to rest for a couple of days because it wore you out so bad. You have to find out what a healthy push looks like for you. And that might start with 5 minutes a day, maybe starting with physical therapy. Livestrong and the YMCA have also developed a great program for cancer patients once we get some normalcy in the world again. And so that is something you can look into. Relaxation, mindfulness, and cognitive behavioral therapy can improve quality of life. And when your emotions are in a better state, it takes less energy from your overall body because everything is connected. It's also important to eat enough protein and healthy fats to promote healthy eating. Keep hydrated, making sure you get lots of water. Of course, the recommendation you usually hear is 8-ounce glasses of water a day. Practice good sleep hygiene. One tip we have heard is that on maybe special occasions, if you're really battling fatigue, sometimes doctors will write for something like Ritalin, which can be an energy boost. If it's taken every day, it loses that effect. But let's say you have a daughter getting married, or let's say you have something really special that you want to be a part of, and you just are looking for a little boost. Sometimes, I know at the Cleveland Clinic, Survivorship Clinic, they will do that for patients. And it is part of the NCCN guidelines on fatigue. Fatigue is challenging, but it's important to plan ahead and prioritize. Now, Barb sends in, she says, go outside every day, find humor, and put on your lipstick. Anything that helps you feel better helps you get through this. She chooses to just accept the changes in herself and walk in gratitude for what she has. She keeps positive as she focuses on trying to help with the care of others, especially with helping her grandbaby is something that helps motivate her and gives her a little energy, but of course within the limits that she can handle it. Tom sent in, after his transplant, Tom really struggled with fatigue and strength issues. Once again, his mindset is what determined how he was going to push through it. He belonged to a gym and started as quickly as he could to get back. This took time, though, as he had a hard time even lifting his feet after transplant. He shared a story with me of how he had even fallen asleep in the tub at one point. However, he just kept trying to get stronger every day, and within a few years, he ran in a leukemia charity event with all 3 of his kids. He said it was a goal he had from the beginning. He had to do it. He had to have a goal. And he said at about the 5-year point, he said he just felt pretty good. So I hope that brings hope to some people. Rhonda has shared that she never would have wanted leukemia, but that her experience has turned into a gift. It's taught her how to live her best life. As a runner, she shared how she sees the transplant journey like a marathon and not a sprint. She framed her experience to be a mile she had to reframe or frame in her brain to run 26 times instead of looking at the marathon as a whole. So like Stacey was saying, breaking things into parts. Every day she asked herself, what can I do to make myself physically stronger, mentally stronger, more positive, spiritually stronger, socially stronger? She believes 80% of this fight was psychological, in her opinion. In the beginning, she asked for a treadmill for her room, or like Stacey was saying on the unit, walking the laps. And she found even short walks on it or even moving from the bed to the chair made her physically feel stronger. She had shared how when she was in the bed, she felt like a patient. She felt like someone that was sick. And just the psychological move from the bed to the chair really helped her try to grow in strength. She emphasized the importance of having someone to advocate for you so that you don't have to take all of that on yourself. That's really energy draining, taking on this by yourself. And she said it's so important to reserve your strength for the things that you absolutely must do. Keep your eyes on the prize and your second chance at life, and ask for your help from a supportive network. She had someone that even helped her with her social agenda. They arranged visits when she was up to it, but also informed others when she was not able to have visitors. She had someone help her with the financial aspects of her life. Spiritually, she found that she had to figure out what this was in her life. What is my connection? For her, this went beyond a belief of a doctrine. This involved a belief that she can and will continue, and being at peace with her choices. She says, fighting for your life takes enormous courage, and you need to will yourself out of bed every day. Meredith also recommends, like Stacey did, finding what time of day your body is at its best and trying to schedule important things at those times. You have a tendency to show a pattern of being a little better. She talked about prioritizing, breaking big things into smaller things. And Meredith has chosen to do ginseng tea. The Mayo Clinic actually did a study on that, showing about 2 grams a day over an 8-week period showed improvements in people with fatigue. David said he looked for ways to be social even on the transplant floor because that motivated him to try to overcome that fatigue. And he really emphasized the importance of not having junk food, having quality food, but resting when you need it. And then Jen recommended keeping a list of your gains so that you have something to reference when you feel discouraged. Jen learned how to adapt with the changes she noticed with herself, walking around the office once an hour or resting her eyes so that she could focus when she went back to work. She also modified her time in the office. And she really recommended, we have a video, it's on the older side, but the message is classic and timeless. It's called The New Normal, and it's in 8 parts on YouTube. That has been something so many patients have told us really helped them as they were trying to figure out how to cope with fatigue and just survivorship in general. And so now I would like to open it up for your questions. Lisa, if you could please help everyone know how to do that.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question on the phone lines today, you can press *1 on your telephone keypad. If you are on a speakerphone, please make sure your mute option is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Once again, everyone, that is *1 on your telephone, and we'll pause for a moment.
I also want to point out, too, if you don't have a question and you just have something to share that's worked for you, we would love to hear that, too. So please feel free to bring that to this call today. This is just a great way to share with other people what could help them make some gains in this part of their life.
Once again, everyone, that's star followed by 1 to ask a question or make a comment.
And Lisa, while we're waiting, I know there was a couple people that asked questions. One was a woman, Joanne, asking about myelofibrosis and what some suggestions for fatigue are when hemoglobin and hemocrit are lower. And she said, other than the Procrit infusions.
Jennifer, did you want me to respond to that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
please.
okay. So, we tend here at Carmanos post-transplant we do use Neupogen to get the white count up, but we don't usually use Procrit to try to get the red cells up. We do transfuse as necessary, but, the body is smart, so the body is going to make the white blood cells first, then the red cells, then the platelets. So when their red cells are down, all of those tips that we talked about are going to really help, in my opinion, more than Procrit. And I'm not saying if your doctor wants you to have Procrit, by all means, go and follow his directions and get the Procrit. We just don't tend to use that here a lot. But just, pacing and, trying to schedule your day and doing things in little increments. All the tips that we talked about is what we would focus on with our patients.
Thank you, Stacey. Do we have anyone on the line yet, Lisa?
We sure do. We have a question. Caller, please go ahead.
Okay. I've had both transplants. The second one was successful, but I'm a chronic GVHD person, and I'm several years past transplant. What I do is I start my day early, and I try to get the big things done first because I'm like a battery, like a cell phone battery. I run out as the day goes long. And in the afternoon, late afternoons, when I rest, and then I'll sit down and watch TV or do some light reading. And if I got to cook, because I'm the house husband now, I start cooking maybe at 2 or 3 o'clock. It works for me, little chops.
Thank you so much. That is a great analogy, but also some great tips. We appreciate it.
I agree. I love the analogy of you being a battery. I think that's, I'm going to use that with my patients. And I love that you found what works for you, getting up early, getting the big tasks done first thing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
As a reminder, everyone,
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
All right. As a reminder, everyone, that is star 1 on your telephone. All right, there are no further questions, but everyone, as a reminder, it is star 1 on your telephone. If you do have a speakerphone, please make sure your mute option is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. And we'll pause for a moment.
Okay.
All right, it looks like we do have another question or comment. One moment. Caller, please go ahead.
One comment I would make is that in my case, I had a heart doctor recommend that I be tested for sleep apnea. And that didn't solve all of my problems with fatigue, but it did an awful lot to help me. Now, I have not had a transplant, but I did go through 6 sessions of R-CHOP for lymphoma.
Okay.
And like I say, the sleep apnea helped me to sleep a lot better, and of course also protects my weak heart.
That is some great information. Thank you.
All right.
Because I would imagine at any point, if there's something going on in your body beyond the transplant, the symptoms could be magnified, if you're already adding fatigue from one thing to fatigue from another. I appreciate you sharing that, sir.
Absolutely,
okay.
And I think it's so important to talk to your clinicians about anything that you're experiencing, because if you had kept quiet, they may not have discovered that you had sleep apnea. So I think it's really good to, discuss whatever you're feeling, any symptoms, any problems with the BMT team, because there may be things that can help you, whether it's your energy level, this is multifaceted. We're not just doing the bone marrow transplant. It's going to affect every organ of your body.
Okay.
Great point.
Well, thank you for your help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and we wish you all the best.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and once again, everyone, that's star 1 on your telephone. All right, there are no further questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Well, I think this is probably a time for us to start doing some closing then. There was a lot of information. Again, you'll be receiving the notes with all these great tips and things you can try. I also encourage everyone to stay tuned. nbMT has many great educational programs for you. In January, we're going to be doing one on mindfulness, and we usually do these on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. But you can be kept in the loop either by email, our Facebook page, and of course our website. And then, if anyone needs any extra support, feel free to reach out to us at 1-800-LINK-BMT. So thank you again, Stacey, so much for helping us out and for just, again, always being such a great supporter to the Link and all of our callers. I thank our sponsors, our Link partners, and all of you for joining us today. We hope you got at least one tip that's new to try, and we wish you the best on your journey as you try to figure out how to combat fatigue.
Everyone I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. Everyone, please stay safe during this very, very unique pandemic, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Stacey.